This scene is about three-quarters of the way into the film. Martha and her mother
What are we even doing here?
meet
This
for the
is
first
completely
time
nuts.
after a couple of months,
Well,
and the whole family is brought together for a supposed dinner, and tensions are at breaking point. Elizabeth, played by Ellen, tells Martha for the first time that her cousin is going to be the lawyer on the case that she's been driving to convict the midwife who she feels is responsible for the death of Martha's baby. And so this is the beginning of a confrontation that has probably been bubbling for about 4 or 5 months.
What are we even doing
I am
here?
so
This
sorry,
is
okay?
completely nuts. What the fuck?
well, as long as you're asking. Suzanne, I've consulted with her about
About
the
what?
case.
You're the prosecutor on the case.
Yes, she's an excellent lawyer, and she's family. You know, she loves us. She's here to make sure we get the right thing.
Look, the case is already won. People hate this woman, so I'm just...
Yes, exactly. And I don't want them to judge you.
Them.
People.
By people? People, you mean Judith? You
I
mean Judith?
really-
Fuck off, Chris. Fuck
okay.
off. Because if you're talking about Judith, I went to a store to get an apple. 20 minutes later, I am in the same store getting the same apple. I know that exactly because I met him late and I met you how late? 25 minutes? I spent a minute getting an apple, maybe a minute in the frozen section. The rest of the time, I spent there stuck, stranded, getting grilled by your friend, trying to figure out what the fuck she wants from me. You're worried about them judging me?
Martha.
I remember after the very first take of the birth, I know you and I talked about this, I ended up, my body was like really crying for 10 minutes, and Cornell held me. He just said, remember this feeling. This is the feeling that's really going on inside Martha, even when she's not showing it. And so I sort of tried to bottle that up, and then for the rest of the shoot, keep that inside but not show it. And then I knew that this scene coming up, that what I tried to sort of keep in was going to come out. And then, of course, it made so much sense that it was between mother and daughter, because the people that you love most and the people you're closest to are often the ones where you do really release in some ways.
She's a very easy person to love. She's, as you can see, smart and charming and funny and dear and talented. So to be her mother was easy and a wonderful feeling.
You know, and it's not even about them judging me, actually. It's about how you want me to be to fit their opinion. You want to arrange me.
You need therapy.
I do not need therapy.
Yeah,
Thank you, Anita.
you do.
All right.
Asshole.
Who cares about what they think? This is about me. This is about my body. This is me. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand that, dear.
We didn't know what the second half of the scene was actually going to look like, the argument. Do you remember? So we weren't, we were shooting that, I think, the following week, maybe. And we were still working out what they were going to say to each other exactly, because it kept evolving, because nothing felt true.
In our profession, you worry so much about not fulfilling something, and then you go to do it and something comes through that you couldn't possibly have designed, ahead of time.
Whatever it was, I didn't know what point in the scene it would be or really how it would be expressed, but I knew that the lid would come off. And it was important to do that.
Have you decided to go to the trial?
I'm not going to your fucking trial.
Why not, honey? She has to pay for her incompetence.
Is this about money?
No,
Is it about what people think?
it's about you. It's about you having to face this.
I am facing this. I am facing it! I am facing this!
Well, I don't think you are. We need some justice here.
No, you need. That is what you want. That is what you need. That is your way. That is not my way. That is what you need.
Martha, if you had done it my way, you'd be holding your baby in your arms right now. It's not a line I would have said, which is always an interesting moment when you suddenly realize there's a space between you and your character that you have to leap over.
When pushed, she's almost like, I always felt like she was a bit of a caged animal. Her secret of her shame is so great that it's always a moment away from coming out.
I mean, all the way through the film, you're so bottled up. You know, after the death of the child, you were decaying inside from keeping it inside. And that you needed to shout, cry, scream, I don't care what, say, talk, but get it out.
I'd felt that you disappointed me. And then we all knew we had to go much further than that. And it had to be something so much more painful and true.
You're ashamed. You're so ashamed of me. You're ashamed because I failed. Oh, what a disgrace. Oh, what a disgrace. I failed.
Yes.
You're fucking ashamed.
And I'm ashamed of me, that I wasn't a good enough mother to teach you how to stand up and speak for yourself, for God's sakes, and to deal with this like my mother taught me. After my father went into the ghetto, my mother found a shack, an empty shack that she went into and gave birth to me without any help at all. She stashed me under the floorboards when she had to go out and steal food so she could make milk enough to keep me alive, but just alive, not strong enough to cry or would be caught. When she finally got me to a doctor, he advised her to just let me go, that I wasn't strong enough to survive. But when she absolutely insisted, he picked me up by my feet and held me up like a chicken and said, if she tries to lift her head, then there's hope. And you know what I did, Martha? I lifted my head. That's what I'm asking you to do now. Lift your head and fight for yourself, for God's sakes. Go out there and face that woman. Tell her what it's like for you now, what this feels like. You have to do this, Martha. You have to speak your truth. Otherwise, you're never going to be able to deal with this. You're never going to be able to move on. You've got to move on past this, Martha.
You just ripped into it.
I think that the lines that came out of me at the end, that you have to own it. You have to state your feelings. You have to get it out. You have to say how this is for you.
I've also thought since how hard that speech is. Why would a mother just suddenly recount the story of when she was born to her daughter? And you think, has she not done that before? Has she brought that story up before? Has she ever? Why now? And you just made it like a kind of a cry of pain. I mean, it's so funny because us two together, we're so cozy with each other, aren't we? And yet Martha and Elizabeth are really cold, really, really cold. Their reaction to pain, I think, is coldness and austere, getting up and getting on with it, really. And I mean, you have to really trust another actor to do that. And I'm so honored to say that, I felt like you trusted me, and I was very led by you, and I enjoyed it so much.
Me too.